In the last decade, cyber attacks crippled government and commercial websites and caused billions of dollars in financial losses. The slammer worm shuts down Bank of America's ATMs, Continental Airlines ticketing systems, and Seattle's 911 network. As Russia invades Georgia, their first strike is to destroy Georgian government websites. Chinese hackers steal data from Google and 30 other major U.S. and international companies. Where will they strike us next? Cyber Shockwave, February 16th, 2010.
Holy moly, they're gonna get us, folks. They're coming to get us. Actually, they're coming for our free speech, so don't let that propaganda steer you the wrong way. Yeah, this is a nice little training exercise that they're gonna be performing on February 16th, 2010, and of course, this comes to no surprise, right? Because I just posted 6 videos along with the Funk Doctor, the Good Doctor, and we just documented the hell out of everything these bastards have talked about as far as a cyber war, right? And in 2 separate articles, it was stated that, oh, the American people are just pretty much they're just dumb. They don't get it. They're naive, right? We need a driver's license for the internet. We need total, regulation of the internet. We need to get a hold of these private, internet service providers so that they go through a nice little government filter along with, when it comes between you and your private service, internet service provider. So, yeah, I mean, that's what they said it takes. They said, oh, it's going to take a cyber attack, like a 9/11 cyber attack in order to get Americans to wake up to see what the threat is. So usually when they start talking like that, guys, that usually means that the government itself is going to start carrying out or funding or indirectly allowing these quote, cyber attacks to occur, right? Because this is the last of the Mohicans. This is the last stand. This is, the final stand for our free speech is on the net, is on the internet. And they are very smooth. They're smooth operators, and they are masters of deception. And unfortunately for them, there's many people that are on the internet that are actually very smart, very intelligent, and very awake and aware of this and what they're doing. So this is a totally different audience from their little sheeple audience that turns on the TV and just passively accepts everything as the God's word, right? As truth. And so hopefully most of you that are watching this and viewing this and listening to this video are, part of that group, that kind of enlightened group that does question things. So here we go. It says, the Bipartisan Policy Center, BPC, plans to simulate a cyber attack on America's infrastructure on February 16, 2010. Dubbed Cyber Shockwave, the simulation will provide an unprecedented look at how the government would develop a real-time response to a large-scale cyber crisis affecting much of the nation, according to a BPC press release issued today. The, quote, cyber attack is going to be wargamed in public for all the country to see. It will be like a realistic featuring senior intelligence and national security officials, including former directors of intelligence agencies and combatant commands and Homeland Security advisors, writes Mark Ambinder for The Atlantic. Ambinder continues, the sponsors of the event include companies with financial stakes in the future of cyber defense. General Dynamics is one, but also companies whose transactions are the lifeblood of the American fascistic economy and who want to foster a greater sense of urgency among the public and policymakers. That's amazing, isn't it, guys? Isn't that just what I just said that, how they are talking to us like we're children, right? Like we don't know. Oh, we don't know, that there's this big imminent threat. Well, I think we know who the threat is. And in these people that are the threat don't want us doing what we're doing anymore. And so I can read between these lines so easily. It's almost too easy, right? because it's so obvious now. In other words, a handful of well-placed corporations stand to make a fortune on the prospect of a cyber attack. In addition, a message will be sent to the Senate warning that it should pass a cybersecurity legislation. A 2009 Senate bill would have given Obama the authority to shut down the internet, right? To shut down the internet in order to save it. And it's called, legitimately, it's called a cyber emergency. A cyber attack emergency. This is real, guys. And right now, this bill is in. It just passed the House, like 450 votes to 5. So it was just a landslide, and it just needs to go to the Senate. So I mean, it's these little games that they like to play, right? To talk to the children who watch stupid CNN and MSNBC and just gargle that crap up. And so here it says, General Dynamics is a leading death merchant at the very heart of the military-industrial complex. Eisenhower warned us a few decades ago about the contrived so-called Cold War. When it comes to military spending, the tradition of the Iron Triangle, Congress, the Pentagon, and defense industries joining to push costly weaponry is nothing new, Brad Knickerbocker wrote for the Christian Science Monitor. BPC directors hail from the Lockheed Martin, L3 Communications, a spook merchant, JP Morgan Securities, and Rockefeller Connected Aspen Institute. So that's just great, guys, isn't it? The BPC effort to scare the American people and Congress into accepting the unlikely threat of cyber enemies taking down the country is part of an ignoble tradition consisting primarily of frightening taxpayers out of their hard-earned dollars. Instead of Osama bin Laden and the CIA created Al-Qaeda, this time around the culprits are Russia and China. And yeah, so remember last year when they had the Russian hacker with the worm, right? And then the Chinese hackers in Google, and we there's an article that was posted after this whole China Google thing that said that was leaked about the employee from Google, a Chinese employee from Google, was the one that did it. So it was almost like a false flag attack in itself. And then, of course, Gates kind of promoted and supported what they were doing as far as staying in there in China and supporting that censorship, because he said that's where the money's at. So if they pass this bill, you can be guaranteed that Google and all these YouTube and all these companies that are all right, they're already kind of censoring to a certain degree. Now they'll just be able to legitimize it, right? So they can get rid of all of us that are speaking the truth. And it says participants include John Negroponte, the first DNI, who will be the fictional Secretary of State. Intel insiders will enjoy this role. Ex-DHS Secretary Michael Chertoff will be the National Security Advisor. And he was, of course, the person that was pushing the body scanners while he was in, and he has almost a direct tie to selling and profiting off of those body scanners. So nice little false flag terrorist profiteer, I guess you could say. Fran Townsend, the former White House Homeland Security Advisor, will be the Secretary of DHS. Former CIA Deputy Director John McLaughlin will be the Director of National Intelligence. Other big-name participants include Jamie Gorlick, Stuart Baker, Joe Lockhart, Bennett Johnson. The BPC Advisory Board consists of seasoned establishment insiders, including Howard Baker, Tom Daschle, Bob Dole, and George Mitchell. So the whole gang's here. Hey, the gang's all here. What the hell do we care? It's just our free speech. In short, a mix of neocons and neolibs at the very epicenter of the establishment. Last July, the BPC, on the highly acclaimed work of the 9/11 Commission, announced the launch of the National Security Preparedness Group to further examine changing threats to the United States. Moving down, says the above BPC promotion video insinuates that the cyber threat will likely come from China and Russia. China's alleged cyber attack last month was blown out of proportion by Google, the government, and the corporate media. The mischaracterized attack against Google went down a few weeks before the search engine corporation announced plans to merge with the NSA, aka No Such Agency. It says the attack on Google involved attempts to access Gmail accounts. And yeah, so like I was saying, so Google's going to play the victim of that Chinese thing, and that kind of legitimizes when they crack down here in the U.S. So thank you, everybody.